Mom said, "You're not welcome here anymore. Stay away from family." I replied, "Understood." That night, I pulled my name from the business account. 26 hours later, 54 missed calls and a new voicemail began with, "Please, we made a mistake." The last thing I expected that Sunday afternoon was to be excommunicated from my own family over crown molding and kitchen cabinets. But there I was, standing in my parents' living room with my mother looking straight through me like I was some stranger off the street. The words came out too casually. "You're not welcome here anymore. Stay away from family." I paused, thinking I'd misheard her. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even angry. She was calm, resolved. My father stood a few feet behind her, silent, eyes glazed over like he didn't want to be part of this, but also didn't plan to stop it. This was because I didn't help with the house renovation. I knew it before they even said anything else. I didn't fly down last month like my brother did. I didn't spend weekends painting walls or scraping old tiles or sitting around pretending this wasn't a massive waste of money. I had work. I had bills. I had already wired them nearly $9,000 over the last 8 months. For emergencies that always ended up being new countertops, decorative lighting, or a necessary pergola for the backyard. But apparently money didn't count. Only physical presence. Only obedience. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I looked at both of them, said understood, then walked out. I drove home in silence, hands locked on the wheel. Not angry. Just done. The business account was the first thing I thought about when I got back. I had no idea if they remembered how it was structured, but I never removed myself from the paperwork. The LLC was still under my name. The bank login was mine. I hadn't touched it in months because they handled the day-to-day, but it had been my setup, my initiative. They needed it because without me they couldn't get the EIN or open the credit line. I had the power. I just never used it, until that night. It took 5 clicks. Removed myself as co-signer. Froze the business debit cards. Changed the login credentials. Then I emailed the bank and submitted the paperwork to withdraw my name and dissolve my personal involvement. All legal. All clean. Just gone. The next morning I turned off my phone for the entire day. I needed space. Not even 24 hours had passed before the first storm rolled in. When I finally powered it back on the following afternoon, I had 54 missed calls. Voicemails from both of them, a few from numbers I didn't recognize. The newest voicemail began like this. "Please, we made a mistake. This isn't what we meant. You misunderstood us." No, I hadn't. I understood them perfectly. They thought I'd always be there. Always play the good daughter. Keep my mouth shut, open my wallet, nod when I was told what to do. I was supposed to be the safe one, the one who'd never walk away. They were wrong. The voicemail continued, something about how the account was showing errors, how they couldn't access funds, how Dad had an important payment to make that afternoon and couldn't process it. I knew exactly what payment they were referring to. A contractor. For the same stupid bathroom they were gutting because the old one felt dated. I didn't call back. I let it sit. Around 10 p.m. that night my brother texted. It was a single line. "Hey, did something happen with Mom and Dad?" He hadn't been told yet. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the message. Then the second one came. "Mom said you cut them off. Is that true?" I waited another hour. Then I replied. "Not exactly. They cut me off. I just followed through." That was the moment I realized just how deep this whole thing might go, and that I wasn't the only one being played. Because I had a feeling he was about to be dragged into something ugly. By Tuesday night things started getting slippery. I knew my parents well enough to predict they'd go crawling to Jake, and right on cue my phone rang just after 9. He was sitting in his car outside their house, engine still running, sounding like someone who just walked out of a movie that made him question his entire childhood. He didn't start with hello. He asked what happened. I let him speak first. He said something felt off from the moment he walked in. Our mom was making tea like it was a normal night, pretending everything was fine. Then our dad dropped the bomb. Calmly, like he was reading it off a script. They needed $6,000 by Friday to cover an urgent payment to the contractor. Said the bathroom remodel hit an unexpected snag and that someone had tampered with the business funds. They danced around it for a while, then Mom finally said it outright. I had cut them off. Claimed I locked them out of their own money to be spiteful. Called it revenge. And when Jake asked what actually happened between us, she said I'd turned cold and forgotten what it means to be family. Then came the performance. Tears. Talk of her blood pressure. How this whole situation was making her sick. How they just didn't understand how a daughter could do this. She even pulled out the old guilt dagger. Said she regretted raising kids who didn't want to take care of their parents. And Jake, being Jake, sat there and absorbed all of it. He didn't agree to the money right away, but they knew how to work him. He left feeling like saying no would mean sending our mother straight to the ear. When he called me, he was still rattled. Said it didn't make sense. He'd seen the business account balance just a few months ago and remembered it being more than healthy. He asked me straight, did I do something to the account? I told him the truth. They kicked me out. That was the reason. Not a misunderstanding. Not a fight. A cold, deliberate decision. I told him about the years of quiet help. The bills I paid, the debt I absorbed, the insurance policies I covered. I told him about that Sunday. About Mom looking at me like I was a tenant who'd overstayed my lease. And how she said it. You're not welcome here anymore. Stay away from family. I told him I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked out and pulled my name from the account. Simple as that. Jake didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, they told me you left because you were mad about the kitchen tiles. He laughed after that, but not because it was funny. I asked him one question. Did they mention the $4,800 charge? He paused. Said no. That was when I told him I saw it before I pulled my name. A pending charge labeled Wellness Retreat Deposit. I said they're not struggling. They're planning a vacation. They're drowning in credit card debt and using the business money to stay afloat. But they're also trying to go somewhere called Serenity Springs next month. He didn't believe me at first. So I told him to check the account. I still had the old login, but so did he. I'd given it to him last year when I wanted to hand off some of the work. An hour later he called me back. Different tone now. He sounded like someone who just realized the people he thought were leaning on him were actually using him as a crutch while dancing behind his back. He found everything. The retreat charge. Payments to 2 separate credit cards. A Target run that was over $900. Probably all new towels and candles and crap for the renovated house. Then he saw something else. Transfers from the business account to their personal checking. Every 2 weeks like clockwork. And the biggest surprise. It wasn't new. It had been going on for over a year. He just never looked close enough. The part that hit him the hardest? One of those transfers happened a week after he loaned them $1,200 last spring. Said it was for dental work. They used it to cover a landscaping bill. Jake didn't say much after that. Just one thing. What if we both say no? I told him, then maybe they'll finally hear us. But I knew they wouldn't. People like them don't listen. They just scramble to find a new way to twist the story. And sure enough, by the next morning my inbox had a new surprise. A message from my father. A forwarded email chain. Subject line: Legal advice, family business disputes. The email was short and the message wasn't subtle. My dad had forwarded me a chain between him and someone named Ronald K. A family friend, who happened to be a retired attorney. The subject line said it all: legal advice, family business disputes. And the body of the email was mostly just vague phrases like, possible breach of fiduciary responsibility, improper dissolution, and seek formal mediation if necessary. I read it twice. They were bluffing. Trying to scare me into putting things back the way they were. It was sloppy. They had no actual grounds, and I knew they hadn't even read the paperwork I filed. They were banking on me being too emotional to push back. Instead, I replied with a copy of the original LLC formation documents, plus the closure confirmation from the bank, and a quick line that said, all actions taken were legally sound and properly filed. They didn't respond. But 3 hours later I got a text from Jake. Dad says you're suing the family? I just texted back, no. He's panicking. That night, Jake came over for dinner. First time in months. He brought a 6-pack and sat at my kitchen table like someone who'd aged a decade in 3 days. Said he hadn't been sleeping. That our mom sent him a message at 2 a.m. with a list of everything they've done for us over the years. Birthdays. School pickups. A photo of the first car they helped him buy. Never mind, he'd paid off 90% of it himself. They were laying it on thick. Building a case. Trying to rewrite history so they came out as the victims. He said he hadn't sent them the rest of the $6,000 yet. Wasn't sure if he would. But then he told me something that changed the whole dynamic. They wanted him to take over the business account. Not just help with it. Full control. They said it would make everything easier, and that it was time for the next generation to step in. What they really meant was, we lost control over Mary, so now we need you to keep the money flowing. Jake looked at me across the table and said, they're trying to use me to replace you. I told him, that's exactly what they're doing. He didn't argue. He didn't defend them. He just sat there processing it. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and handed me a printed screenshot of something that had been posted in our mom's little Facebook group for their neighborhood. It was a photo of the house. Renovations halfway done. The caption said, sometimes those closest to us are the first to abandon us. But we keep going. For family. She was turning this into a narrative. Painting herself as the martyr. I wasn't surprised, but Jake looked sick. He hadn't realized how far she was willing to go. It was more than manipulation, it was reputation management. She wanted everyone to know her version first. Then Jake dropped something else. They asked him to co-sign a personal loan. Said it would help finish the project faster. Told him not to mention it to me because it would just make things worse. He didn't even answer them. He left, drove around for an hour, then came to my place. I think they're in real financial trouble, he said. I nodded. They are. But they want to drag us down with them. We sat in silence for a bit. Then Jake said something that made me realize this story wasn't going to end the way they thought. I'm done too. Whatever they've built around themselves, they can keep it. But they don't get to build it on us. The next morning, Jake logged into the business account and did what I had done a week earlier. He pulled his name too. That's when everything shifted. The voicemails got longer. More dramatic. Our aunt called me in tears. My dad emailed me 3 paragraphs about how this family used to be. And then finally the final card they had to play. Another voicemail. Mom's voice cracking like she was choking on her words. If something happens to me because of this, I hope you can live with that. It was theatrical. Ugly. Pooh. But I saved it anyway. Because part of me knew they were about to do something even more outrageous. By Saturday things were getting theatrical. My voicemail inbox was a collection of emotional monologues, like my parents were auditioning for a soap opera. One message from Mom actually ended with, "You'll regret this when we're gone." Another had my dad mumbling something about bloodlines and loyalty. I had no idea what they were even trying to accomplish anymore. The money was cut off, Jake was backing away, and I wasn't giving them an inch. But that morning something new happened. Jake showed up unannounced. No text, no call. He just knocked once and came in holding his phone like it had started a fire. I barely got a word out before he said, "You're not going to believe what I found in their attic." Apparently they'd asked him to come over and help move some boxes. Said they were clearing space for insulation work. Jake didn't think much of it. Figured it was a small peace offering. He went up there with Dad, started hauling boxes. But when Dad left to grab lunch and Mom disappeared upstairs to call the insurance company about project delays, Jake started poking around. One box was labeled holiday lights. Light enough to carry, but something rattled. He opened it. Inside were 3 large binders and a manila envelope stuffed with folded letters. No decorations. No ornaments. Just bank statements. Jake said he felt weird opening it, but he got curious. The binders weren't organized neatly. They looked like they'd been stuffed full over the years, all bent and warped. Inside were copies of bills, credit card statements, transfer records. Some of it in our parents' names. But not all of it. 2 cards had been opened under his name. One had a $2,900 balance and the other had been paid off 6 months ago. Neither were cards he'd ever seen. One envelope had a utility bill, power and water, addressed to a house we'd never lived in, but with my name listed as the co-tenant. And that was when he realized they were using our names. Not just once. Repeatedly. Carefully. Always under the radar. He took pictures of everything. Flipped through until he was sure he wasn't imagining it. Then he put it all back the way he found it and walked out like nothing happened. He showed me the photos as we sat at my kitchen table. I felt like I was looking at someone else's life. My name, my actual name, was tied to utility bills in a completely different county. There was a statement with my old address listed as the mailing location, even though I hadn't lived there in years. Jake looked exhausted. Said he didn't sleep the night before. Kept thinking about how many times they'd asked for just a little help, just a small loan, just his social for something business-related. He thought it was over when he left the account. But they'd been working behind our backs for years. Then he told me the worst part. They'd asked him to co-sign a new personal loan. Just 2 days earlier. Told him it was for kitchen upgrades. But now he was wondering if it was really to consolidate debt they'd racked up under our names. That same night I ran a credit check. They'd opened a small department store card under my name. 5 years ago. It was closed now, but not before it was maxed out and paid off late. I never knew. I never saw it. They must have intercepted any mail and used one of my old addresses when I was still bouncing between apartments. I froze all 3 of my credit reports within the hour. Jake called his bank the next morning. Told them to flag any attempts at new credit lines. Then he called a lawyer he used to work with during his brief stint in real estate. Said he needed advice on identity theft. Quietly. Then came the final piece. The thing that pushed this entire nightmare into a completely new category. That Sunday afternoon, Jake got a call from the man who manages the property under the business LLC. He hadn't spoken to him in months. The guy asked if Jake had seen the new lease agreement his parents emailed last week. The one that now listed only their names as owners with Jake and me removed entirely from the paperwork. They tried to rewrite the company structure. Without telling us. Except, they weren't legally allowed to. Because even if my name was removed from the bank account, our names were still on the articles of organization filed with the state. They tried to steal it. Flat out. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there and said out loud, "They're never going to stop." Jake looked at me and said, "We have to burn it all down. No more warnings." We didn't know it yet, but we weren't the only ones with a problem. Because less than 48 hours later, something would happen that would drag my parents' secrets into public view. And this time they'd have no way to hide. By Tuesday morning, we were already drafting formal legal notifications. Jake's lawyer friend helped us prepare letters to the state business registry, the property manager, and the bank. Nothing aggressive yet, just official, stating that any attempt to alter the business ownership or financial structure without unanimous agreement was invalid and subject to review. But the real blow didn't come from us. It came from someone we didn't even know existed. I got a call from an unfamiliar number while I was driving to work. Let it go to voicemail. When I checked it, I had to pull over. It was a woman named Lauren. She said she was calling from a local design firm that had been working with my mom and dad on the renovation project. I had no idea why she was reaching out to me, but her voice was calm, almost tired. She said, "I just thought you should know. Your parents named you as the guarantor on the design contract. And when our payment bounced yesterday, we were advised to come after you for the balance." I nearly dropped the phone. She emailed me the contract. And there it was. My name typed cleanly onto the last page just above the digital signature line. But the signature wasn't mine. It was a clumsy attempt at my initials with a timestamp from 3 weeks ago, 2 days after I was told to stay away from family. They'd forged it. I called Jake. Told him everything. He didn't even sound surprised. Just asked for the name of the design firm and said he'd call the lawyer. He already knew what I was thinking. If they forged my name on one contract, what else had they signed? By Thursday we found out. Jake met with the lawyer in person and brought all the documents we'd collected. The financial records, the screenshots, the emails. And in that meeting, the lawyer said something neither of us saw coming. "Do you want to press charges? Because you can." That night, Jake told me he was seriously considering it. Not just for the fraud, for the betrayal, the emotional blackmail, the manipulation, the years of lies. But that decision was taken out of our hands. Friday afternoon, the property manager called again. His voice sounded different this time. "Kiki." He said the tenants in one of our properties, the one under the LLC, had filed a complaint. Apparently, my mom had visited the house 2 days earlier and told them the lease was void. Said the new owners would be taking over. She wasn't just trying to steal the business. She was trying to evict people. The tenants filed a report with the city, who then looked into the company. And within 24 hours, the city had flagged the LLC for suspicious activity. That meant any attempt to transfer property, modify leases, or collect rent was frozen pending investigation. My parents didn't know yet, but I had a pretty good idea of what would happen once they found out. Sure enough, the next morning Jake and I both got texts. Not threats. Not guilt trips. Just one picture. A photo of 2 suitcases and a pair of passports on their kitchen counter. Then the message. "We're going to the Maldives. You and your brother have exhausted us." I stared at the screen, jaw slack. No apology. No shame. They'd been caught forging signatures, opening credit cards in our names, trying to rewire the entire business behind our backs. And their response? A vacation. They claimed to have no money. Said they were broke. Pleaded for help for months. And now they were flying across the world like none of it ever happened. Jake texted me separately. "I guess they really are done pretending." I replied, "Good. So are we." And that was it. We didn't call. We didn't reply. We didn't stop them. Because the funny part? The flight never left. They were supposed to fly out Sunday morning. Jake tracked the flight they claimed they were taking, non-stop to Malé, 10:35 a.m. It left LAX on time. But our parents weren't on it. We found out on Monday. The property manager texted Jake a photo taken from the office window. Our parents were standing in the parking lot next to their car. They weren't dressed for international travel. No luggage. Just a single carry-on bag and some papers in my mom's hand. They looked stressed. Our dad was pacing, phone pressed to his ear. My mom wasn't talking. Just standing still. Jake called the manager. He said they had come in to ask a few questions about the city audit and why all property operations were frozen. They played dumb like it was the first time they'd heard about it. The manager told them the city was conducting an investigation into possible misuse of business funds. And that, due to certain flagged inconsistencies, they should prepare to submit formal documentation. They left without saying much. No airport. No Maldives. They'd lied about the whole trip. The vacation was a bluff. A pathetic final move to make it look like they were above the fallout. that they were sailing into some glamorous escape while Jake and I wallowed in guilt. But they didn't even have tickets. They probably never packed a real bag. They just sent that one photo assuming it would shake us. What they didn't expect was for Jake to run a reverse image search on the photo. It wasn't theirs. It had been pulled off a travel blog, posted in 2017. The passports weren't even the same model anymore. I guess they forgot that passport designs change. That was their last magic trick. And it flopped. 2 days later we got an email. A new address, a long message, and one last shot at rewriting the narrative. My mom had written it. She started off dramatic. Something about how parenthood is a sacrifice no child will ever fully understand. She talked about how they'd done what they could with what they had, and how their choices were survival decisions, not malicious ones. There were lines about how we'd misunderstood their intentions, how they only ever tried to preserve the family name, whatever that meant. She didn't deny anything directly, just cloaked it all in vague spiritual language. Claimed that the money was never stolen, only recycled. Said Jake and I had turned into cold corporate strangers, and that our obsession with fairness had destroyed something more important than money. Then came the final line. We will always love you even if you choose to forget who we are. I stared at it for a full minute before I closed the tab. Jake didn't even read the whole thing. He saw the sender and deleted it. Didn't say a word. We never replied. Instead we let the process finish. The city finalized its findings within a few weeks. The LLC was permanently dissolved. Our names were scrubbed from every record. The tenants were protected, and any attempt by our parents to interfere with the properties was legally blocked. Jake and I spent the next 2 months cleaning up the wreckage. New bank accounts, credit freezes, monitoring alerts. His lawyer helped us write a statement we could use with any creditors in case more surprise charges surfaced. A few family members reached out. Some still believed our parents' version. Others stayed out of it. A couple thanked us for finally standing up to them, said they'd been quietly manipulated too, just in smaller, less traceable ways. 3 months after the last email we heard they moved. Out of state. Rented a small place outside Phoenix. Someone said they were telling people they'd retired early to reset and live more simply. I didn't care. They got what they wanted, distance. And so did we. The funny part is they thought they knew me. Thought I'd always be the daughter who kept giving, kept forgiving, kept saving them. But they never met this version of me. The one who finally stopped looking back. And when they told me I wasn't welcome anymore, they thought it was a punishment. But it was the best gift they ever gave me.